many institutions have you impacted upon? Learning institutions. How many universities have you improved? How many laboratories or so have you built across all the public schools in Nigeria? How many trainings have you carried out of professionals and then the auxiliary staff, workforce? We need to know these figures, and how much have you spent? They are telling us, NLNG is saying that you approved only $10 million to be spent on institutional strengthening and capacity building, which is training. And I'm asking you, or we are asking, why is that amount reduced from $43 million? Because if we are going by the law, we would like to let Nigerians know that NLNG owes Nigerians $33 million. As a matter of fact, the entire $43 million, because you mentioned that you are going to spend $6 million in erecting an engineering facility in the University of Port Harcourt, and that's fantastic. Well, we would want the similar things for the remainder of the money across country. Of course, definitely, the Niger Delta region will have most of these projects, but every geopolitical zone is supposed to have one educational center impacted by your project. That is for the 60%. Then the 40%, we need to see trainings. What pretty much, I bet about $18 million worth of trainings. So we want to know here, who gave the approval? Why was that approval given? And if you are making reference to the 2019 approval, sorry, I'm trying to have my thoughts now. I read in your books, when was Train 7 flagged off? It was in 2020, right? When was Train 7 flagged off, please? 2019? I read somewhere.
2019.
Let's just speak now. Why $10 million? Don't talk about the workforce. Why $10 million as against $43 billion of human capacity development project, please?
HCD plan in 2019 was the 2014 HCD guideline. Yeah? And not the 2020 HCD guideline, 2014 HCD guideline. Now that guideline developed the premise for estimating commitment or expenditure in capacity building. And it referenced the project man hours, not the total value of the project. That's number one. Number two, a major constraint to taking FID for the Train 7 project was cost and maybe the business environment. And to enable the execution of FID for that project, we had several engagements between local content and LNG on what local content can do.
Please, let me just stop you. I knew I saw something somewhere. I have with me, dated 13th December 2019. And if you permit me to read the first item here. The total training budget for human capacity development shall be a minimum of $10 million US.
Correct.
Minimum.
Yes.
Full stop. Where the total project cost for Train 7 exceeds $2 billion,
Yes.
the human capacity development budget shall be revised as stated in the HCD guidelines 2014. Now, this $10 million approval you're speaking about, it's on a minimum benchmark, and it's of $2 billion worth. Now, Mr. Andy, you mentioned here that the project value as at today is $4.3 billion. That means, let us all agree that the human capacity development training plan of Train 7 needs to be reviewed according to the guidelines, which is what? 1%. That means you, all Nigerians, human capacity development framework of project worth $43 million. Can we just end this here and agree? That's it. Can we have the letter back, please? Just two of you can verify that. Mr. Andy, I believe you are leading the NLNG delegation. Do you affirm that that document stands true? Clerk, I believe we have that same letter.
Be aware that to appear before this committee and dribble us around and give us false information attracts penalties. The gentleman in green cannot say he was not aware of the document that we have just passed to them. And he was talking completely contrary to the document that we have now shown them. This is his desk. He cannot say he was not aware.
Because I wrote that document and I signed the document, and I was saying that use 2014 guideline, not the 2020 guideline. That was the first thing I did. And based on the value that was NLNG presented to us, I put that clause that since we don't know the actual project value, at the time we wrote that document, there was no way we would have known the total project value. The 4.3, I'm hearing about it today, but we put that clause to
Hold
say
on.
we'll revisit it.
At what point, NLNG, at what point did you know that the value was 4.3 billion? Was it at inception in 2019 or today?
It was taken based on the value of the projects and what was going to be spent on the project.
That means from inception, you knew that it was 4.3 billion. That means that letter was entered in error or mischief. Which of them?
On the contract value. It was the outcome of a protracted discussion with LNG on how to help that project achieve FID.
But now when you noticed and when the contract was affirmed, why didn't you raise or advise that 1% must be set aside?
No, we are covered by that letter. If the value even grows beyond 4.3, that letter says we need to revisit it. The real challenge we have today is that we have not started even the $10 million. We need to get to that point. Yeah.
Chairman, it is obvious that, no, Chairman.
In the Senate, we're all men.
In law, there is no woman. It's obvious that what is before us is inconsistent with the provisions of the Act. And instead of going prevaricating on this issue, we should rule that the right thing be done. And I think that's my position on the matter.
Do you mean you want to pay a visit to the...
Yeah, I think as a committee we need to revisit because this is just a defense on the issue.
No human capacity development project has taken off. Your, the largest project, the only one you mentioned, which is the $6 million engineering facility, has not even, I believe you've not even awarded the contract yet. So there is pretty much nothing to visit on ground yet. However, we're going to give you a considerable offer, whereby we would work with you in developing a framework that would incorporate the 60-20-20 rule for the $43 million. Also, please take note that in the process of our investigation, when we find out other variations that will lead to the increase of the project value, we shall also increase the value of the 1%. Mind you that we are still expecting the attracted investments and taken up by your partners in the upstream gas development. So if that investment is $5 billion worth, that means we are also expecting another $50 million in addition. So I won't be wrong, or we all won't be wrong to say that invariably the Train 7 project hangs around $10 billion, whether it is the core primary NLNG uptake or those of the partners, because in the larger space, holistically, we're still speaking of one same project. We'll leave it at that we are going to speak in depth behind camera, but we are here to work with you and ensure that the right thing is done by Nigerians according to law. So I'm glad that amongst all gray areas, a fine line is being met. Except you have something to the contrary, I would say here that NLNG has not expended one kobo or 1 cent out of the $43 million. And there is going to be a framework that we would work with you, and of course the management of NCDMB and the ministers, that's the Minister of Gas and the Minister of Petroleum that stand as co-chair today. We are all going to sit, develop the framework that will incorporate institutions, learning institutions in Nigeria across all the 6 geopolitical zones, focusing, of course, predominantly on the institutions in the Niger Delta region and the various training programs that would truly add value in building capacity in Nigerians. Now, that is the first phase. Second phase, before we go into a closed section, let's look at your workforce.
Can I suggest that we go to a closed session? Because from my position, it's as if there's something doesn't.
We see that your head count, your expatriate head count is 523, and your Nigerians head count is 7,119.
Subject of verification.
Yes, of course. But I'm speaking to the documents you submitted. Or should I say, this goes to Deu Saipem. Deu, where are you? Over there. Yes. You brought in expatriates, 523, to help out with the project, okay? And you employed Nigerians, 7,119 Nigerians to help out with that. Amount of money spent on the expatriates, I believe this is in dollars, right? Osas, it's in dollars. You did not specify whether it's dollars or naira, but I believe it's dollars. Expatriates, $338 million. I'm summing that up. While Nigerians, $151 million have been spent. Am I right? Deu Saipem.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm just going to speak to the ratio now. 523 expatriates were paid $338 million, while 7,119 Nigerians were paid $151 million. That means it costs you so much more, a whole lot more to import the skills, that presently are required to develop, or should I say, to build the NLNG Train 7. And you have been at this since May 2020, because that is when you brought in your first expatriate, May 2020. Going by the expatriate law, that one expert will serve 2 years, right? And have at least two understudy. Is it out of place, or would it not have been possible for the skill, whatever skill that the expatriate had, that skill should have been transferred by now? That I don't think we shouldn't have expatriates around in the construction sites and the LNG Train 7. Because it can see that it consumes so much. 69.2% of your money is being spent on expatriates, while 30.8% on Nigerians. Considering the fact that your expatriates that are consuming 69% of the monies amounts only to 523, while 7,000 of Nigerians share 30.8% of the amount of money projected for the manpower. So please explain to us this unhealthy ratio and why you have not built capacity in country, especially with the transfer of skills.
There shows the figure, the total number of expatriates that were brought from the beginning of the project up till this moment. The execution of this project involves different phases. So it does, beginning with engineering, procurement, construction, and commissioning. So obviously, we are talking about different skills of expatriates that are being brought at different times, Mr. Chairman. So it does not necessarily mean that we have 500 expatriates from the beginning of the project, or from May when the
How many expatriates do you have presently on site? And when was the last expert brought in?
I will need to verify, Mr. Chairman, and get back to you, sir.
Simple. You should know how many expatriates you have here.
Coming for a public hearing.
Exactly.
What the law
Is it
recognizes is
Korea?
shareholding.
Malaysia, which of it, please check.
No. At the time you bidded for this project, did you present the we as
Hold on. Daewoo Engineering and Construction Nigeria Limited is a subsidiary of Daewoo Worldwide.
Chairman, we can always get you.
Charlie would like due duties to make sure that Nigerians are not cheated, they are not shortchanged. And you know, every time these things go wrong, they blame politicians. We have taken time, I have taken time to read about the WHO. At the different fora, we will talk about that. How it was registered and why it was registered. It was registered to gerrymander employment for expatriates. And it was after the whole thing has started. And we complain about lack of employment. But that's for another day, because I will invite you people again, different from local content. I'll call you for federal character and governmental affairs. Because we are complaining no jobs, and we are busy sending it out, adjusting the laws, and depriving Nigerians of jobs. And then we'll turn around and say, is this person, this politician did that, this one did not do this. We'll look at that. I'm interested in that area outside this. This is my chairman here. I'm a member, I'll just sit back. But so what it means, thank you. What it means is
we have issues and then the 1%.
Appreciate the fact that you sent in voluminous documents, which was quite late. It was just yesterday you sent in, and you only sent in 10 copies. There are 30 members of this committee, so next time you're sending in any document, send them in a set of 30, please. And sending the documents just a day before the public hearing, it's not proper. The documents should be sent in minimum a week before. Usually, we accommodate 2 weeks before the public hearing, as usually mentioned in the letter sent to you. But considering the fact that we still are expecting some information, both from NLNG and yourself, we would figure out a date before the close of today and let you know so you could prepare ahead of time, please. And mind you, the next date we're giving, we would want absolute disclosure of everything that we would take time to mention out, which will also enlist in the letters being sent to you. But NLNG, Dewu and Saipem, please, can you let us know how many Nigerians you have presently working for you, full-time and part-time?